Hi, welcome to part two. So I had some time to really think, and I was like thinking to myself of I played back my last podcast, and definitely that was a time of hurt for me and a breakup of a relationship, as you can tell of where I was going with that one. But I kind of just want to fast track some things because I literally took time to myself in a time of like me feeling fogged and just confused. And I have a lot of clarity now. And I think, like us as humans, that when we're in the mix up of clouds in any personal situation that we're in and how we're feeling, it's a lot hard to just see the mix of clear or see the message. And during this rough time for myself, I constantly was trying to look for a message so badly and leaning so much in my faith in God and just trying to see the upside of things. And that was definitely hard. And time is of the essence and time is healing. And I'm going to wholeheartedly like go down on that and say that please let your time heal. But I definitely want to give you guys still the story. I definitely want to run through all that and give you guys the background because you guys deserve to hear my story and the situations that I've been through. And maybe you guys can learn from it and maybe we can talk about it a little bit more. But let's go. Let's run through all this. So I know that we were kind of in October and I told you guys that, any intuition, men or women, or if you have a feeling third eye, please believe it. And we came back from being out in the States. And when we came back, I was feeling it in my heart that I felt like something was wrong. And it doesn't matter, or no matter how much we like want to ignore those things, I definitely was a little bit like I would say that I've never really had these feelings or I never really paid attention to them, I guess as I do now. But I did. So I was like, okay, why am I having this feeling? This feeling in my gut, this feeling in my mind, this feeling in my stomach. Like, why am I feeling like this of like just, I guess, a negative cloud and like just super negative. And we started to have a lot of arguments and it affected me really hardcore mentally. And, the arguments were arising a lot of jealousy, rising a lot of control, rising a lot of just who I am as a person. And it was very hard and it took a mental toll for me for a whole month. And I would say like middle of October to November, right before Thanksgiving, it, I was definitely just on the rocks with myself. And, the more you continue to see this picture for yourself and this person, or you had like this thought of like, okay, you paint this picture and you tell yourself that, hey, like me and we started to think about family. We started to think about marriage. We started to think about a home together and what would that look and start painting it and painting it and painting it. And the more we continued to paint it, I started to grasp more onto that. So I felt like maybe I didn't want to let it go. I'm probably going to say that I didn't want to let it go. So no matter the hurt and the pains, and I guess you guys would say is the red flags, I still wanted to continue. So even though in my heart and my gut, this is my first gut that I've had with him, that I felt like, okay, you have an issue now when I'm home in a place that I created a safe space. Like you brought up that every time I'm home, you change your attitude. And then I started to feel like, okay, like maybe my home is not my space. And then it was like showing up to my work and thinking that I was seeing somebody. And it was like, I couldn't even be on my phone to look at my work emails because it was like you accused me of talking to somebody or giving more attention somewhere else than I could to you. It was like getting so much of like I was getting close in a bubble more and more and more, even underneath his own roof of me living with him, that I felt like to myself, something is wrong. And how can my world flip upside down in a matter of seconds? And what is it in my gut that I'm feeling that like I I can't get a bad taste? And I think I've always seen podcasts and people say like please listen to your body. And there was that whole period of time where I really couldn't fully be intimate with him because I just was feeling that I think in a passionate moment or time, it's definitely hard to, you want to have that connection with somebody and you want to make love and you have to be in that mood or that moment and that want to do it. And for me, it was taking a toll on me because I was more of just doing it because he wanted to. And not in that sense, I just want to clear that up. Not definitely not in that sense, but it was more of a sense of just okay, I know I love him. And I do want to be intimate with him and let's just try this. And even though I don't want to tonight, maybe I might get in the mood. And because of all the situations and things that were happening where I was just feeling and telling myself that it's one of those things where you kind of think about to yourself where it's okay, make up sex. And it just wasn't for me. I just wasn't really performing, I guess you would say, the best that I can or want to be, or I wanted to be intimate and with my partner. So this is a time period that I was living in his house. And remember, you guys, I was going to be there for the holidays, spend time with him so we can really see if us moving in together is going to be it, because that is our plan for next year if it does work out for year 2026. I'm living there. All these things are happening. It's just overwhelming and getting crazy. And something about his house is he's a male and he lives, by himself. He's not in a woman's aspect of cleaning. I just remember I was like, let me clean. Can I clean your house? I was having really bad allergies at the time. And I was like, I just want to clean. And he said, yeah, go ahead. So as I was cleaning, there was things that were popping up that right when I would see it or anything like that, it would just make me feel sick. And it would also just make me feel that bad feeling again. And I'm going to let you guys know when I was cleaning, I was finding a lot of prescriptions everywhere. And I would move the bed and there would be some pills on the floor. I would open the medicine cabinet, there would just be a bunch of bottles. And it just every time I kept seeing that, it just made me feel sicker and sicker and sicker. And I remembered that he told me that he had an issue years ago about a drug addiction and he got past it. So I was raised around addiction and family members that were addicted, but just never in that sense of that aspect. So I wasn't really familiar with it. And so I Googled it. I Googled opiates and when I did see, and you kind of go through a spiral, a whole rabbit hole of once you Google one thing, you're on to the next and on to the next. And you're just oh, that makes sense and things like that. So I remember me being alone at the house while he's working or doing something or out and about, I would just Google. That would be my time to get on my phone and Google. And I remember the first time that I Googled the word, the definition, it literally just clicked for me. And then when I Googled how somebody would act and do and all that stuff, it all started to make sense. The outtakes, the outbursts, the arguments, just how they would think if they were on that a substance like that. And so for me, I was just this is the missing piece of the puzzle. And during that time, like I said, when we came back from traveling, my whole world got flipped upside down. And I started to tell myself, we never had arguments, we've never had issues or things like that never happened. Why is it happening? And why all of a sudden, me being home is an issue? Why all of a sudden I am a problem? Why am a sudden you feel I'm constantly cheating, your panics are so bad and you literally snap on me so much. And knowing that the person that he was, where if he had a situation or issue, we would sit and talk about it, everything was so calm. And we would talk about our feelings and the communication skills was 100%. And all of a sudden, a flick of a switch, it wasn't. And that was completely all gone. It was definitely tough because obviously he was dealing with something and I didn't know something was wrong. And I'm right here thinking to myself, okay, I did something wrong. And you start thinking like that, like with all these issues and problems and so much that's being thrown at you. And like, one day it's this, the next day it's that. And it's like so many different categories. So for me, I just constantly felt like, okay, like, am I the problem? Like, am I wrong? Like, am I doing something wrong? So then the more that I Googled and I was reading about it and stuff like that, then I started thinking to myself, like, how am I going to handle it? How am I going to handle it? How am I going to bring it up? And like, do I just want to leave? And I think for me, right away, when I read those things and like everything was clicking for me, I was telling myself, like, I gotta leave. And I just want to throw you guys like a little spin off, just go a little bit off track, that it's very, very important that issues and things that happen in your life, you talk about them and you just like seek help and you go to therapy and you find healing because it does affect you moving forward in your life. And for me, I didn't know that it was going to affect me. But I've had addiction in my family and they were really close people to me and they were my uncles. And I seen an aspect a little bit from the outside, I guess you guys would say, because it was my mom's brothers. But I seen what it does from my sister's perspective, a little bit from my wife's perspective, from an overall family's perspective. And my cousins are very, very close to me. So like definitely like how it affected them and them growing up and how they were raised because of the trauma. So the first thing that I wanted to do when I was reading all that was run and telling myself, like, I know what that feels like. So I don't want to feel like that. And I deserve to not feel like that. And my uncles are not here anymore. And, one of my uncles, his life was ended a little bit too soon and it caused a lot of pain for my cousins. And that all went through my head is just thinking the pain I'm going to be in, the pain that I'm going to feel, and also in some aspects of like, would I enable him? Have I been enabling him? And would I come to a point in my life where like I would just be blindsided and just kind of start agreeing to his situations and hi- his his addiction. So I just like my first instinct was like, okay, like let's all reel it back. And to let you guys know, like I at that time period, like I was dealing with all that by myself. Like I have very close friends that are closely to my heart, but I told myself like, no, like I can deal with this by myself. And I don't want to say anything because like I don't have all the information. Like I'm just gonna go with them a bunch of scrambles and like I just want to figure it out first. So i- in the morning in November, I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm going to get ready for my run. And I was so excited. I was like, let me get ready for my run. Let me, put my shoes on, music and everything. And as I was getting ready, I was in the closet and then I was like, where is my running belt? And he was outside washing his car and working on the yard. And then as I was looking for like my running belt, I came across like these pills. And I just told myself like, okay, I have to say something. Like I can't just continue this and eat myself alive. Like I need to know answers. So I went outside and to be honest with you, like I think for everybody, and anybody could probably say this is like you don't really know how to confront somebody and that has an addiction, or you really don't know how to confront somebody in in a situation like that. Like you think to yourself, like when you're not in it, it's like, yeah, I would run up on somebody and say, like, are you doing this? Or some people might do it, But for me, like it was uncomfortable for me. So I walked outside, I like gave him a hug and I was like so loving. And he was like, are you ready for your run? And then I was just like, I didn't want to let him go. And like looking at it back now, I knew to myself of what I was feeling of like having to let go. And I think I just wanted to hold on to that moment a little bit longer because it's like I ask him and he lies to me, or I ask him and he tells me the truth. And sometimes in situations like that, like you just don't know what you want to hear, or you're not ready to hear what they're gonna say. So I was just like really loving and on him and just hugging him and everything. And he was all like, "Are you okay? Like, you're just so loving." And then I was like, "I want to talk to you inside." And he was like, "Yeah." So we went inside and we were in the room. And I was just like so loving on him and just like hugging him and like holding on to that moment in sense of like knowing that my life is going to change right now. And I asked him and I was all like, "So I want to ask you something and hopefully you're honest with me." And he's like, "Okay." And I told him, I was like, "I just want you to know that I've been seeing a lot of prescription around the house, some that are your name, some that are not. And it makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, is there something going on?" And he was all like, "No." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, am I finding all this stuff? And when I look up the prescription, it doesn't make sense to why you would be taking it. And I just remember looking dead into his eyes and he was just like, "I love you. Everything's fine. And you know I can't sleep. So like this is the reason why like I have all these prescriptions, but if you want to throw them away, we'll throw them away." And he's like, "If it makes you feel uncomfortable, like we'll just get rid of them and that's perfectly fine." And in that moment, my heart broke. And never in the 8 months that we got to know each other, that we were talking, and mind you, this is a person that I would talk all day, every day to like every second of the day, like spend my time with him and talk to him and everything FaceTime. And I never felt like he was lying to me at all. And I remember when he said that, my heart broke into a million pieces. And I just knew to myself like that he he's lying. He's lying. I just like probably like my emotions and my actions said it all, but I just remember staring at him and I just started bawling. I started bawling. I started crying and then he was just like, "Everything's fine." And he was like wiping off my tears. I can tell that in his eyes it made him feel uncomfortable that he lied to me. And I guess like that's where like a little bit of manipulation comes from on his part because like he was saying anything and everything to make me feel not hurt. And he was just like, "Everything's gonna be fine. I love you." And he was all like, "It's okay. Like we'll throw it away." And he's like, "These are so old." And the more that I cried, like, he was all like, "Come on, like, let's get you for like, ready for a run. Like, isn't that's something you like to do? And, like, we'll get you ready." And he was just, like, hugging me and holding me so tight, and, like, I felt it, like, he lied. And then after that moment and, like, a few days, I guess, like, my emotions, like, switched where, like, I was constantly angry at him, and I would literally all the time pick a fight because you feel in that moment like, okay, they lied to me, and like your emotions are just raging in so many different areas in so many different ways. So like for me, it was like he would leave dirty dish and I would snap, and it was just like a constant like back to back to back to back to back. And it got to a point where like it got so heated in a conversation. And like we literally lost sleep on this one where we were just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I just wanted to scream and yell at him and say, like, "Just tell me the truth. Like, just tell me the truth." And something like that where like somebody's not going to tell you the truth unless they want to and they're ready. So we were going back and forth, arguing, arguing, arguing. And this is the time where he had to leave for a week to like a few hours away, like 2 hours away. So I was going to be left in the house by myself. And like the day before he had to leave, like I was constantly starting fights because I was thinking to myself, like, "Oh, I don't want to be left in his house by myself. I know it's just a week, but like I feel uncomfortable. Like I feel like no safe place. I just feel so out of place and I feel unbalanced and just like so many things. Like my emotions were super high. So I was literally like everywhere. And we were arguing so bad the night before he had to leave. Like we couldn't stop. We were just going at it with each other, like arguing, 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 arguing. And then he started crying and he broke down and he was just all okay, like I am doing something bad. And I did lie to you. And when he was telling me like all this stuff and he was being real with me, like some way at the same time, like it was like a release and I was breathing. And then I was also hurting at the same time. And I was just like, I think at that point, like I was so lost because like from the day that I confronted him to the day him leaving, I think it was like probably like a 2 week. And leading up to me asking him was like already a month of us having issues and his tactics and it was his actics of like all these things. And then it was like him knowing that I felt that he lied to me. So I was really just going through it emotionally, feeling more lost. And then knowing that he just confessed to me and I'm just like, okay, I don't know how to feel right now. And then my first instinct was like, I feel uncomfortable. Like, I want to go home and like, I'm scared of you. And like, I just don't want to be around you. So, like, he confessed everything. He cried. And I think I just like listened and I was just like watching him. And he was like, and then he's like, I gotta go. Like we were literally arguing up until like he had to leave. So then he left and now my heart was broken and I literally remember it like so dramatic wise. But it was like raining and it was pouring hard and like when it rains outside, like you kind of want to get cozy in bed, but I felt depressed and I was like really, really just like scared. So I just remember feeling super cold in his house and just feeling really out of place. And no matter what I would do, even if him gone, like I just felt like that I needed to go. So he was telling me that when he was gone, he was telling me that he's going to get clean and he loves me. It was something that was over the counter and I'm not gonna put out there of exactly what he was doing, but he came across something that he thought that he can control it and it got carried away and he couldn't. So he was telling me all these things and I was just feeling more and more confused. And during this time, like I still haven't said anything to anybody and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do before I reach out to any of my friends or like get advice or say anything. So I thought about one person in my mind and I was like, my best cousin. She knows everything about me. Like, there's nothing that I hide from her. And if I'm going to tell anybody, it's going to be her. And the one person that I did wanted to tell was her first because her dad was an addict and her dad left her and her sister and her mom and he chose the drug over them at a super young age. So I felt like if anybody's going to get me, it's going to be her. So I called her and we talked for hours and I think as anybody that knows me, like they were just kind of mind blown that I was going through something like that. And I think I couldn't for so much of holding on to that for like a month and a half of like everything that I was going through. And I haven't told anybody that I was really just like when I finally got to talk to somebody, it's like I threw up. Like I was blurting everything out and like everywhere and all over the place. And I was just like crying and just just saying anything and everything, even if it was out of place because I was like I had everything so bottled up inside me. So when I was talking to her and I was telling her like all these things and what I was going through and all everything, she was just all like, I think that you should, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I just want you to sit with yourself and really think about the decision that in the life that you want to live and what it would look like moving forward. And I think something like that coming from my best cousin that's known me my whole life, one, it stinged. I just wanted to go. And I just was telling myself, like, okay, he's gone and he comes back in 2 days. I know if I stay, he will convince me and I would probably feel guilty and I would want to stay. So I gotta leave now. And during this time of like him about to come home, like he was telling me that he's gonna come home and he's gonna get better and like if I could support him and like help him and just be a partner for him during this tough time. And I really didn't say much. Like I was kind of like just hearing him out because I knew what I wanted to do because I was scared. And I felt like for a long time in that whole moment that I was putting him first and I was also losing myself. So in my head, I'm just like, I want to go home. I want to feel safe. I want to regroup myself. I just want to feel a little part of me. So I packed my bags and I put it in the car. And before I left, I wanted to make sure that like I write everything on this message that I'm about to hit send. And if it's the last conversation that I have with him, like I want him to know everything. So I literally wrote it down, I proofread it, I edited it, everything, and I was sitting on it for a few hours. And as I was packing, like I'd be like, okay, I want to say this, I want to say that, and keep adding it, keep adding it, keep adding it, keep adding it, keep looking it over. And then when I had everything packed in the car and like sat there and like I read the message one more last time. And then like I swooped through the house to make sure I had everything. And I was telling myself, I should, and I was just like thinking to myself, all the good times we've had, and knowing that if I walk out that door and I hit send, that door closes. But then I thought to myself, like, I have to. So I hit send. I got in the car, and it was the hardest 6-hour drive ever. And when I hit send, I saw that it delivered, and I saw that he read it, and I right away hit block. And I literally was like bawling for 6 hours. And I was literally like, I had to pull over so many times. And I was telling myself, like, am I doing something wrong? This don't feel right. And like, am I giving up so soon? Am I a horrible person? It was a brutal 6 hours for me. And it was tough. It was hard and I did it. And then right when I got home, I just remembered like actually in my drive. I just remembered it's so crazy, but I just remembered in my drive. I remember my heart felt so warm. And I remembered that I felt like as if like God has touched me. And I never felt God so close to me than in that moment. And God was telling me like you're doing the right thing. And that's what made me drive the 6 hours and not turn around. And then when I got home, I just felt like a sense of relief and a sense of like I can breathe and a sense of like I feel safe and I did the right thing for myself. So I went home and this is right before Thanksgiving, like literally like probably a week before Thanksgiving. And I started to try to look a little forward and try to just see what's next. And we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk to you guys about the months of what the Thanksgiving look like, end of November, going into Christmas in December and leading up into the new year. And like I said, this is going to be a part series so I could give you guys a scoop of like everything that I've been going through and just everything of what I've been feeling and just where I am now in the new year. So you guys could get a little familiar with me and just what I'm going through and what I'm feeling. But I'll see you guys next time and we'll talk a little bit more and you guys will hear the next part of the story. Thank you.